Hi, I'm Robert Niney, your spray foam advisor, and the guy in the Hawaiian shirt. I wear the Hawaiian shirt as a symbol of freedom and flexibility, something that all business owners should want to achieve. And one of my goals is to help 100 spray foam business owners set up their business in a way that gets them that freedom and flexibility that they're looking for. This includes providing spray foam training, education, tips and tricks, business fundamentals, and even coaching and consulting services.
Today, I want to talk about radiant barriers. I often get questions from builders about radiant barriers. If I already have a radiant barrier in place, or if I'm looking to install a radiant barrier, can I also use spray foam insulation? Do they work together? How do they work together? And does it make sense to use both? So let's talk about that. To answer this, you have to understand what a radiant barrier is and what it does. A radiant barrier like Thermoply or TechShield, these are some brand names of radiant barriers, or some of the spray applied radiant barrier paints that are on the market. These are all low emissivity materials. That is a technical way of saying that they allow less heat to emit or radiate from the exposed surface of the roof to the inside of the attic space. By applying a radiant barrier to the underside of the roof, you can change the radiant heat load in the attic space. In a typical attic, when the roof is 150 degrees Fahrenheit at the plywood, heat is coming off of the plywood into the attic, heating up the attic space. That is why attics get hot, 120, 130 degrees Fahrenheit, when it's only 90 degrees Fahrenheit outside. By putting a radiant barrier on the underside of the roof releases less heat. It releases or radiates less heat into the attic space, which results in a lower attic temperature. It is common for radiant barriers to lower attic temperatures in the 10 to 20 degree range. For radiant barriers to work properly, the radiant barrier must be exposed to and facing the airspace on the inside, such as the attic space between the ceiling plane and the underside of the roof, because the radiant barrier is reducing the radiant heat that is emitted into that airspace. If spray foam is applied directly to the underside of the roof in contact with the radiant barrier will no longer function the way it is intended. This occurs because when you add a solid material in contact with the radiant barrier surface, the key method of heat transfer is no longer radiation. It is now conduction. So no, you cannot apply spray foam directly to a radiant barrier and get the benefits of both. In many situations, contractors will go ahead and install spray foam over the radiant barrier because a fully encapsulated attic with spray foam is going to outperform a radiant barrier only system. But the installation of the spray foam is going to nullify the radiant barrier benefits. With a complete spray foam system, you're going to get the benefits of reducing conduction at the roof deck. This is, of course, traditional insulation properties. You're going to get the benefit of reducing convection by providing an air barrier, and you change the interior radiant surface. So rather than the radiant surface being the roof deck, now the radiative surface becomes the exposed surface of the foam. Because the spray foam is an insulation material, the interior temperature of the spray foam is going to be much lower than the interior temperature of the roof deck. So the radiant load coming off of the spray foam is also much lower than the radiant load that would come off of an uninsulated roof deck. So you can achieve a radiant barrier-like benefit by putting spray foam on the underside of the roof deck, even though spray foam is not defined as a radiant barrier material. To use both spray foam and a radiant barrier in conjunction with each other. For example, if you go to a project to bid spray foam and it already has a radiant barrier in place on the underside of the roof deck, you will need to install vent baffles to the underside of the roof deck. The vent baffles should be connected from the soffit all the way up to the ridge vent to make sure that you're maintaining ventilation and the roof is properly vented. By installing the vent baffle, you maintain an airspace of 1 to 2 inches on the underside of the roof system so the radiant barrier can work. In this case, the low emissivity material will work on the underside of this roof system, and you can get the benefits of the low emissivity coating on the underside of the roof deck, and you can install spray foam to the underside of the vent baffle to create an unvented, conditioned attic space and achieve the benefits of both technologies. This has been Robert 90 with Spray Foam Advisor. Thanks for checking us out, and catch me on some more videos.
If you found this video helpful, then it would probably be valuable to your friends in the spray foam industry. So help us all out and send it to 3 or 4 people that you know. Additionally, if you have any questions, want info on a specific topic, or want to learn how Spray Foam Advisor might be able to help you or your business, you can email us at questions@sprayfoamadvisor.com. This has been Robert 90, your Spray Foam Advisor, and the guy in the Hawaiian shirt. Thanks for checking this out, and catch me on some more videos.